spoon in the studio. That'd be
Yo. All right, we're about to get started right now. Okay, here we go. All
I
right,
bet.
guys, what is going on? It is your man Gerard Kenneth. Thank you for checking out the podcast. This is supposed to be different podcast. This is episode 51, and it's really simple. It's really simple and straightforward. We're gonna chop it up about some more stuff, but it's called Yo Hablo Español También, featuring Shaun Skeete. Am I saying your last name right, bro?
Yeah,
Skeete.
definitely. Shaun
Skeete.
Skeete.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to double check, man. So, I'm excited. I'm excited about this particular episode.
You too, my
Um,
brother.
where where do I begin concerning you, man? Like I met, technically I met you through a group. It was a group that I created. In case you
Yeah,
didn't know that, it was a group that I created. Some stupid stuff happened, and then the whole group like dispersed, and I was just like, what the heck? And I was getting looked at
yeah.
like, well, it's your fault. And I was like, but you guys are adults. What are y'all doing?
I trust me. I remember, man. People couldn't police themselves, and things tended to go left.
Yeah. And so, I mean, basically, the chick that was an admin, she ended up doing some stuff later on, and she has like a different page on. I found that out. I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
finna be petty and just unfollow you. Cause I was just like, I didn't want to deal with it. It was just like really weird. But I was like, y'all played a part in destroying something that I was trying to create in reference to Afro Latinos and African Americans and and it went somewhere else. So now I see another group where it's like you on IG. This is a group that I actually follow. Like the creator of the group, I talked to him a little bit here and there. He's a singer too, and so
right.
I was like, look, man, I just encourage y'all to keep doing what y'all doing. I understand the foolishness. I've been through it. I did it like 10 years ago, and it was like, what the heck? But they're dealing with it
Man,
worse because they got people that are like Latinos or Latinas just, trolling. I'm like, we didn't deal with that. We were just dealing with ourselves. And
correct.
it was,
Yeah,
and it
got it.
just went left. And I was just like, and again, my mindset was like, you guys are adults. I shouldn't have to police you. But when I started teaching, I would reflect back on that instance. And I was like, if I knew what I knew when I was teaching and utilize that, oh man, we
Yeah,
still
you
be
could have definitely.
around. Because we still
Famous
be
words,
around.
man.
Yeah.
If I knew then what I know now.
Exactly, exactly. So you know what? So that's pretty much a setup because you came into the group. I forgot who introduced you to the group, but you was like super, super cool. You was just chill, laid back, minding your own doggone business. But I always like paid attention to you whenever you would say things here and there. I was like, that Sean guy,
Uh,
he's kind of cool.
Yo,
So, but
thanks,
yeah,
man. I
yeah,
used to appreciate it because especially like in that time, you didn't have a space like that.
yeah,
On social media, there weren't too many spaces. You might find like a little forum here or there, but it'd always be scattered. So that
yeah,
was dope to find because it was like a central hub where we could discuss things that were
exactly.
Afro Latino
Yeah,
related. Just from the diaspora in general and
yeah,
how it
yeah, yeah.
connects to everything.
And
So,
my,
I would jump in and I would love to drop my 2 cents every now and then. But like you said, sometimes people would come in and they go so left that
Yeah,
I'll just slow
it
walk
had
them.
nothing to do what was going on had actually nothing
Right.
to do with the group, and I was just like, "What are y'all doing? Like, it's not supposed to look like this." And then, like, the group just disbanded, and like and then you had people that just had bad communication, didn't understand the other person, or they had triggers.
Yeah,
So I was
that's
like,
true.
"Yo, you got some personal stuff going on," and now it's folding into the group, and it's like, bro, we ain't got
But you know
time for
what?
that.
I think that's what was dope about your group. Like, and this is just not even yours particularly. This happens in many groups. Like,
I see that now.
what- you know, right at the point where people can get into like really deep conversation and start to
Mm-hmm.
unpack certain layers of things.
Yep.
Somebody comes in and they just drop one comment that's opposite, and it's like a cancer. It spreads. They're just like, hey, forget all that,
Exactly.
and then it just
Exactly.
topples like dominoes. But I would definitely say, that was one of the few spaces that you could find.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's weird because what I'm gonna tell you how it started. I was talking to Tito. You remember Tito, right? Like,
100%.
okay, so he was one of my other admins. He told me about the other shorty. She will remain nameless. We're gonna treat her like Voldemort. She's gonna remain nameless. So with Shorty, he told me about her, and I was like, oh, and I talked to her a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, you cool people. All right, cool. So then, basically, but what happened was I had talked to him about creating the group. I said, "This is what I want to do." I had the weirdest dream. Okay, basically,
Hmm.
I'm in this big van, and it's this huge conga drum, and I'm playing it, and I'm like, I'm just playing it, and black people, to my understanding, they were African Americans in my dream. They're looking at me sideways, like, "What are you doing?" You know what I'm saying? Because I'm playing the
Wow.
drum. I'm playing the drum in the back of the vehicle. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And like, you know what I'm saying? The door is open. I'm just playing it. And first they were looking at me
That's interesting.
sideways, but I didn't stop. I kept playing the drum, and then they just start vibing with it. It was like, oh, okay, cool. This is cool. You know what I'm saying? We cool with this. This that's what's up. And so that's why I came up with the corny name, La Conga de America. And then I ended up changing it, and then I just got rid of the group altogether. But that's how I started. And I told him, I said, I want to create this group, and I wanted it to be specifically for African Americans and Afro Latinos, so that we can be like, oh, cousin. You know what I'm saying? Just like on
Yeah.
Poetic
Yeah.
Justice, cousin.
There's so much more similarities than differences. And we don't know.
Exactly.
We grow up not even knowing in the neighborhoods that we come from. You know, it's just like by the time you
Exactly.
do realize, you damn near a grown man. Like, oh, I never
Yeah.
even knew you had this custom or this food or this
Exactly.
kind of
Bruh.
dance or drum, like you say.
Yeah. I was an adult when I found this out. Like, I never wanted to learn. We're gonna get into it. I never wanted to
Yeah,
learn Spanish. I wanted to learn French instead. I had a crush on this chick that was teaching it. And I was like,
that'll
oh
do it.
yeah. I was like, yeah. Like, let
That'll
me
do it.
come through.
That's
And
pure
so all of it,
inspiration.
look, man. And so and then for some reason she couldn't teach it. And give me a sec, cause I'm editing some stuff. I already tagged you in it, so I re-tagged you for this live. So in any case, it was like, yeah, da 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 da. So they're like, well, you can learn Spanish. I was like, Spanish, yuck. And so the issue is that I was born in the '80s. So in the '90s, back home in Michigan, what we saw on TV, and this is no shot towards like their culture and stuff like that, but it was just like Tex-Mex or Mexican stuff, and that was it. When we thought of Spanish, we thought of Mexico, and that was before. Of course, this is before 2015, before we realized that there were black people in Mexico. We didn't know none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? If we thought somebody was black and Latino, you were African American and
Yeah,
Mexican, and that was it. And so I was just like,
that's
I don't
true.
want to learn Spanish because what was being presented to me wasn't appealing to me. It didn't it didn't resonate. Can I say that like that? It didn't resonate with my spirit, bro. For some
I
reason,
get it.
I was just like, nah, I can't rock with this. And what's the odd part is that I was wrestling, and I had a teammate that's Puerto Rican. And I remember when he told me, he said, "Yo, I'm Puerto Rican," and I didn't say it, but I just looked at him like, "Oh, okay." In my head, I'm like, "What's a Puerto Rican?" We didn't know anything about like
What what
it
particular
about the
city did you
island.
grow up in?
Huh? I'm from Saginaw, Michigan.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's like it's some of those cities they didn't really talk about the African diaspora. They just said you guys were slaves and that was it. It wasn't like, oh, there were slaves elsewhere, or like black people were brought to different countries. It's like, nope, the United States. And then, but it was like, but when we think about it, it's like, well, we heard about Jamaica and just saw black people there, but it was almost like we
Yeah,
didn't think slavery. We just thought, oh, they were always there. We were the ones that were, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know about the
that's how
African
they got us good.
diaspora. I didn't
That's how
know
they got
about
us
it.
good, brother.
Look, man. Look, so when I found out about all this stuff, and this is the wild part out of all of this, it was a non-Afro Latina that told me. She sat me down. Her and her husband sat me down and said, Gerard, did you know this? I went to a bilingual church. This is how this all got started. So
Okay.
I go to this bilingual church, and I'm like, the reason why I went is because they were singing songs that I recognized in English. You know, me being a singer, I'm like, you can do that? This sounds like, oh, okay, cool. Cadence was similar, and I was like, all right. I heard the beat. I was
Yeah,
like, it was, you know what I'm saying? It had the dembow beat in church. I was like, oh, okay. This sounds like something I heard on Fast and
that's kind
Furious
of
with
that's kind
Daddy
of cool,
Yankee.
man.
That's how it was. Essentially, it was the music. So that's what got me. So they're singing, and when I went to the church, it was a mix of people. You know what I'm saying? You had white people, you had black people, you had Hispanic people, you had some Afro Latinos, and I was just like,
But
okay, this is interesting. And so I end up joining the church later on, and then I'm on the praise team, and now I got to learn stuff in Spanish. So now I'm trying to figure this stuff out on my own. I'm asking people. I didn't go to school just yet, so I'm trying to figure
okay,
out all this stuff. Now this is before I made the group. I made the group like I made the group once I like left that city and moved to a different city and all that stuff. I made the group because the other thing was that I'm like, I want to talk to more people. I don't know who can, you know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't connected to that church anymore. So, but what happened was, she's like my godmother. She sat me down and she said, Gerard, you know, you know what I'm saying? She's Puerto Rican. So she said, you know, there's Puerto Ricans that look like you. And I was like, for real? Like, for real, for real. Because when I look at the TV, you know what I'm saying? When I look on TV, I see like the J-Los and the Mark Anthonys. Even if somebody, like, it would have never dawned on me that, like,
Let's
that
talk about
Tatiana
that.
Ali is Panamanian. It never dawned on me that Alfonso, I forgot how to say his last name. I don't know what island he's from. But, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, it would never dawn on.
Alfonso Rivera.
Yo, Roberto, yeah. None of that stuff never dawned on me because when we see black people, we think African American. So
Yeah.
so when she told me that, I said, for real? She said, yeah. So then I started
He's
doing some research.
he's Trinidadian and Dominican. I believe
Really?
I believe some element in his family definitely represents my island.
Now, yeah,
I'll do some
we was gonna
research
get to
again.
that. And
Don't
you're
quote me to it,
Trinidadian,
but
right?
yeah, but I'm not born there. I'm born in Queens, but
Okay.
I represent Trinidad to the fullest because in my household growing up, everybody was pretty much from there. Like my house was Ellis Island for my family. So
Wow.
my parents were literally the first on both sides, and they both come
Word.
from families of 10 siblings.
10.
So
Good grief. So you know what? So let's get into that, Shaun. I know I did
yeah,
this set up this background stuff about like how everything got transpired for us to even meet each other. So let's
mhm,
talk about you, sir. Let's talk like right now. Like this is what I know from you. Like just initially before we actually like really start chopping it up.
okay.
You're a Spanish speaker. That's all we actually knew. That's all we actually knew. But just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're gonna get into the topic at hand. So who is Shaun Skeete?
That's a great loaded question right there, man. I I feel like depending on the day, I could be so many different people, but it's all the same person. I'm a creative at heart.
Yeah.
I think since I was a child, I've been writing stories since I was about 6. I was rapping at 7 years old.
Mm.
Um, I mean, and at 7, I pretty much told everybody I was like, I'm gonna be an MC for the rest of
Wow.
my life, and I've been proving it. It's
Oh
like
man,
all this
We
time
gonna
now.
talk for
So
real.
it's just like I loved it that much.
Hmm.
By the time I was 12, I started to do a little bit of like modeling and acting.
Okay.
Had a couple of commercial gigs that I did,
Mm.
more so like pictures and stuff. But because of that, I actually got into loving plays. And I think this is kind of like the crossover between me loving things, just being on the mic, and
Hmm.
then being like, you know what, I like the background production stuff too.
Wow. Wow.
You know, I went to the second high school I went to was called LaGuardia Middle College. It was like a charter school inside of a college,
Okay.
and that was pretty dope because we would link up with a couple of other charter schools in the area, and then literally put on productions. So like we'd have to do everything from the writing
Wow.
to the outfits, how the stage play works out. We do the video editing if somebody
Hmm.
filmed it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
just the whole nine. And I just think that, to answer that question, I'm a person who's always drawn to the arts.
Got it.
And I think the overarching, not overarching, I think the common thread between all of it is that I really love communication in people,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I love expression, um, and, emotion, and just the things of life. I think that these things make up the fabric of life. There's
Yeah.
nothing that's been done without an emotion behind it
Hmm.
on this
You're
planet.
right. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
um,
Wow.
language love, language love kind of just came into there because, like I said, my family's from Trinidad, so Venezuela is about 7 miles from Trinidad at the
Really? I
closest
didn't know
points.
that.
Yeah, we're the very last island in the Caribbean, and so the history of Trinidad is so mixed because of course you have the natives there, the Arawak
Hmm. Yep.
Indians that were there, the Carib Indians also in the area.
Hmm.
But then once you have the Spanish coming over and then Africans,
Yeah.
of course, you have that whole, so, a couple of 100 years, Trinidad spoke Spanish, with,
Got it.
with some African and native languages there. And
Hmm.
then the French took over and then
The
they had
French.
offered, yeah, I think I want to say from 1797 to about the 1880s.
Mm.
We were pretty much a French Creole speaking island.
Wow.
So it so if you know people from like Saint Lucia, Dominica,
Yeah.
Martinique,
Yeah. Yeah.
that kind of French Creole that they speak, that was spoken in Trinidad for about 100 years or so. And then the
Wow.
British took over. So once the British
That's
took
what I heard
over,
about. Yeah.
that's when the English comes in, and of course, there's a long history with how the Indians got there.
Yeah. I thought that was
I'm not
weird
going to go
too.
too deep into it, but the
Okay.
island becomes this cosmopolitan mix-up of Africans, Indians, with a
Yeah.
history of French and Spanish in the culture.
Wow.
And so it just always took to me, for
Mm.
instance, our Christmas music is called parang, Parang, and the
I've
lyrics
heard of
of
that word before. You said parang?
yeah, yeah, it's from a Spanish word originally, you
What is
know.
that? I'm
It
curious.
just
Go ahead.
kind of
I'm
derives
listening.
from it. Yeah, there's a couple of theories as to where the original word comes from for parang. Well, parang music. So
Hmm.
the children in high school, they learn the lyrics to Christmas songs in Spanish. It's
Okay.
common. It's happens every single year.
Hmm.
If you go around, there's certain towns that still retain their Spanish names, even if they're pronounced different.
Wow.
Like we have one town that if you read it would say Diego, but people say Dego, when they're talking
Dago.
in the
Oh
accent.
wow.
Dego.
Wow.
So
That's
it's
interesting.
always been that mix, and I was attracted to it. It was like wow, I told you that I loved writing stories, I love rapping, so I loved words,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
just amazed me. I was like, how can there be a whole entire other language to do this? Because it seemed like words were just this big thing. I had a dictionary, and I'm like, we already have this many words in English. Like,
How is it
you're
possible in
telling me
another
that there are
language?
people who speak a whole other language, and
Right.
and express themselves and paint it like that. So from that
You
age,
know
I kind of
what?
had the
I like how you piece that together. Like, cause when we think about that, it's like at least like living here in the states, where it's like primarily like what I'm saying, English is our primary language. It's like when you look at it like that, it's like language is something serious because the same for the outside of like slang and stuff like that, it's the same amount of words for the most part, but it's different. But it's like you guys are expressing yourselves the same way we are, like
right.
he's like
You're
it
right.
just
Is
don't
this for
dawn on us
real?
like that.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
It certainly is, man. I just think like one of my benefits too was like you said, learning that Puerto Ricans were black as well.
Mm. Yeah.
By the time in the first grade, I was blessed. I had a Spanish class because I was so advanced with my writing at the time. They put me
Mm.
in extra kind of class called
Yeah.
IG. It was like intelligent and gifted. And one of
Wow.
those was a Spanish teacher. She would
Mm.
come in and teach us the basics. And for whatever reason, they killed the program in the school. That happens a lot in a lot of our cities.
I noticed that.
And
Yeah.
so it literally was just that first grade. And I remember I learned everything to a T. Like if it was a part of the body, I knew it. If it was the greetings, I knew it. And it wasn't much, but I just remember like just holding to it so close
Wow.
to the point where on the last day when the teacher had to announce that she couldn't do the class anymore, she cried. She had this small group of students. She was like, man, you guys have been doing so well that I wish that I could keep on working with you. So we
Wow.
lost that. But as if by God, as I like to
Yeah.
say, he's always there, or she pushing things along. So the next year, my best friend, who's still one of my best to this day, I mean, we hang out now, and we just turned 40. He just
Mm.
turned 41 a couple of days ago. Met him when I was 7 in the second grade, and same color as me. We would just chill back and forth. I kind of knew that he was Caribbean. I think he maybe mentioned Puerto Rico, but I didn't really think about it like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then one day, I'm playing outside right in front of my house, and I see him. It's the summertime after second grade ends, and he's walking with his mom, and she's talking to him in Spanish.
Mm.
And I'm just like, and first of all, I didn't even know that he was so close by. I knew he was in my school, but he's like, yo,
Yeah.
you live right here? I'm like, "Yeah, I live here." He's like, I live one block this way. So my dad is out. I asked him if I could walk with them, and I was like, yo, you guys speak Spanish? He's like, yeah, I told you, I'm from Puerto Rico. And like you said, it blew my mind. Even at
Yeah.
that age, I was like, really?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I think I'm gonna start hanging out with you guys. Like, I need to know a little bit more about this. And I start hanging out with him
Wow.
every day,
In
you know,
in the second grade?
in the second grade.
That's
And I
crazy.
owe his family to like my initial push because
Yeah.
hanging out with him every day. There was a time when literally his mom
You know
asked
what?
one night,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Because I'm gonna
oh
say
yeah,
something right after you finish this part.
oh, okay. His mom was like, hey, what's Sean still doing here right now? It's kind of late. Does he have to go home? Something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to formulate that, but I swear I understood exactly what she said. It's like just being around him every day.
Mm-hmm.
And, I answered her before he could ask me the question. And I was like, no, it's okay. I can be here until such and such time. And they all just stopped and looked at me. And they were like, you understood that? And I think that was just like that first rush of like, oh, wow,
Yo, I
I
can
got
do this.
nice little response with this whole fairness thing. And,
Yeah.
that just drove me there. So fast forward, I wasn't for years. Like, I mean, I was good in school.
Mm,
Even some kids try to cheat off of my tests sometimes, but
that's hilarious.
I get to high school and I don't really take it serious. I start to even fail in my Spanish class because like I just can't get past. I'm like, what is the difference between, usted and tú? Like, why are we doing this? I don't even,
Yeah. Yeah.
above me. And I think or to me, I know it's because of how they were teaching it at the time,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and how they teach it. It's like these long grammar lists, and it's just like, hablo, hablas,
Yeah.
hablamos, and they never really teach what I call laterally, where
Okay.
it's like when you first come into this world and you start, bantering back and forth with your parents or your siblings or whoever you're learning from, it's always like an A and B conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You don't even focus on anybody else. It's like me, I, you, this, that, and
Yeah.
the third, and that's pretty much it. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I finally got serious about Spanish years later, I was 24. I was playing around with programs that most of the people know, like Pimsleur,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know, started knocking around. And I did discover this one audio program, Learning Spanish Like Crazy. Like, that was dope for me. I'll
Mm-hmm.
always stick by that one. And a couple of grammar books. Like, I got one now. I don't know if,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not trying to advertise any of my stuff, but
Nah, you good.
okay, this is my son's copy right now.
Okay.
So I took mine. I got my old school on.
Hold on, wait. So your son is learning. You know what I was going to say when you was telling me the story while you about to show the book is shout out to people in the Caribbean, man, because it's some people in the Caribbean. I just say that as a whole that is like, yo, let me tell you, let me school you, let me embrace you so you can learn something. You know what I'm saying? Because we see that now in 20. Oh, I'm about to go there. So I don't know if you are aware of the whole thing with Danny Lay and this whole thing with. It's more so women complain about this, like dealing with colorism and you know what I'm saying. Danny Lay,
What's his name?
her name is Danny Lay. She's a
Okay.
Dominican artist, and she basically did a song for quote unquote light skinned women, but the debate is that she's actually not even a black person. So she's Dominican, but she's not Afro Latino, right? So we'll probably talk about that. We got time, so we'll probably discuss that later. But what I was gonna say was overall,
That's interesting.
look, but shout out to the Caribbean like citizens, and you know what I'm saying, like those people, man. I'm just saying like all encompassing. You know what I'm saying, like from Puerto Rico to Cuba to Dominican Republic, even
Yeah.
like the islands, the Virgin Islands, and all these different people, because it's like they come here to the States, or we see them here living in the States, and some people they're just. But then it's like some people they say, you know what, this person is interesting. He looked like he's taking a liking to this for some reason. Let me take him or her in and educate them on some stuff that they. And it's like you can't do nothing but say thank you. You know what I'm saying, for that. And it's funny because it's like, yo, shout out, because it's under this impression that just as a whole, not just Afro Latinos, but Latinos or Caribbean people as a whole has a certain
Hmm.
mindset about people. If you're either Americanized or you just look like me, and it's like, oh, then you're ignorant, and I'm gonna leave you in that boat. Good luck. You know what I'm saying? But you got some people that's like, Nah, there's somebody that look. I got a cousin that look like Shaun. Nah, Shaun look like he
Right.
cool anyways. Let me go ahead and embrace Shaun, and you know what I'm saying. And then that's that. So it's like shout out to those that really do stuff like that, man. It means a lot, man. It really does.
I feel like there's such a disconnect that, I mean, some people do take the time and some people never even realize,
Yeah.
I think for me, my own blessing that I would say is that, like I said, I'm born here in this country. So on the
Mm-hmm.
one hand, I could consider myself American for sure. You know,
Yeah.
um, culturally, once I left my house, I'm dealing with a mix of everybody. I grew up in New
Right.
York and Queens. So,
Yeah.
that's pretty much black Southerners, um, Caribbean, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Black Caribbean folk,
Right.
whether
Right.
Afro Latino, of course, I consider all of that the blackness,
Mm-hmm.
the part of the
Mm-hmm.
diaspora, and then folks from Africa. So you had this mix of,
Yeah, that's
African
right. You're right.
Southerners. And in one neighborhood, I grew up in Jamaica area,
Okay.
specifically in Lawrence, and it was like it allowed me to see what was relatable right away because for me it's like my
Mm.
friends might not know, but I'm just like, "Yo, what are you talking about? We do this in the we do this in the house all the time. Or when we in the islands, we doing this."
Mm-hmm.
And they
Mm-hmm.
just like because they're not getting that the information in media. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's media really that's part of the issue.
Yeah, and
You
that's what
know,
affected me. That's why I couldn't rock with it
you
initially.
see Caribbean folks, you think maybe the stereotypical Jamaican from
Yep.
Mark for Death or one of these Steven Seagal movies or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Or Cool
And
Runnings back in the day.
right.
Yeah.
And the same thing in the Caribbean. The, I think their benefit is that they get TV from all across the world too, not just
Hmm.
locally. So they're watching as equally as they might watch CNN, they're gonna watch BBC. You
Wow.
know,
Yeah.
where they're watching American shows, they're watching British shows too. So they
Yeah.
kind of have this tapestry of information that comes in,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's why you have some that will want to pull someone to the side and say, look, man, let me put you onto some of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you might not know, all we know is like uh, what we see here in the movies. They seeing more than just like the rap videos and stuff. They're seeing like a
Right.
broader scope of news that's coming out from Africa, news coming from Europe.
Yeah.
Whereas here, growing up, if I didn't know certain information that came from within my family, and I just left it up to the TV,
Psh.
in my generation,
Yeah.
Africa was just like, the kid they would show you with the fly flying on the face,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
talking about, he's starving. And not to say there
Yo.
aren't some people
Yeah.
going through that in certain regions,
Yeah. I got a homeboy in
but
Nigeria
I
not
have
even dealing
family
with
that had
that.
traveled. Right. I
Yeah.
had family that traveled. Like, no, it's not like that. It's not like
Yeah.
that at all.
Yeah. Matter of
When you
fact,
talk about,
my homeboy, he lives in Nigeria. I was tripping out, bro. I'm laughing because I was like, yo, that's crazy. So he introduces me to this dude, and it's got this really nice house. He's like, oh yeah, he's a prince. I'm like, nigga, what? Like that's your friend? He was like, yeah, that's my friend. He's a
he
prince.
just
I was
he just
like,
said it all normal like that.
yeah,
Just dropped it
yeah,
on you like,
yeah. It was
by the
almost
way.
like it was like a reverse coming to America, right? You
I
know,
was
like
that was I
I'm
was thinking
Prince
that in my head.
Akeem. Yeah, he was like, no, this is my friend. And he introduced me to his friend. I was like, yo, what's up? He was like, hey, yo, what's up? He's like, hey, yo, you should come and visit one day. I was like, okay, I'll figure it out. But I was like, this is as an adult. That happened like almost 3 years ago. And I was like, yo, but what we've been seeing on TV about jokers struggling over there, nah, they straight.
Yeah,
For the
yeah,
most
they
part, they
straight,
living
man.
really good.
I'm talking about I had finally made it to the motherland in 2015,
Yeah.
in a trip to Kenya,
Hmm.
and it just blew my mind. They had everything from a downtown, like it's downtown Manhattan, to the
Wow.
countryside, and then of course they had like what people would expect to see in a safari. They
Yeah.
had a mix of everything.
Hmm.
Mount Kilimanjaro, I got to fly past that, see the snow top on the mountain.
Oh
Got to
wow,
Mombasa, went to Diani Beach,
man.
where it's just like the Indian Ocean and the warmest waters. And, I mean, they had everything. It was it
Yeah.
was it was tropical. They had the city. They had the nightlife,
They had
downtown clubs.
everything there. You would
They
almost
had
think that
everything
Africa
going
is
on.
like
I, I loved
the
it so much. I came back 10 months later, literally. I went back 10 months
I
almost to
want
the
to
day.
go, man. I want to go there and just visit. You know what I mean? Like my mother-in-law, she's pretty much like a pastor. She has a pastor of a church over there, and so
Okay,
occasionally she'd go and visit. But because of COVID, she can't. But she used to like
right.
frequent there a lot, and I was like, my wife ain't gonna go, but I'll tag along one day just to say that you know what I'm saying? Even though, you know what I'm saying? Even though like my ancestry is not from Kenya, I'll still go just to say I went and figure out how can I get into Nigeria or Ghana or
Yes.
something like that and just visit and just check out stuff, man.
All right. I mean, it's far. That's east and west right there. And
I was like
you can
really, really
fit.
far?
Yeah, let's just say this: if you flew from California to New York, and you tried to go and try to do a similar trip from the West Coast out, by the time you got to New York, you still wouldn't cover the distance to get to
Wait a
Kenya.
minute. Wait a minute. Flag on the play.
It's that. It's
Hold on,
far.
hold on.
It's
Because
far.
on the map, they make it seem like Africa is small. But you just
That's
telling
the
me that
Mercator
alone,
map.
yo, but you're
They
telling
got
me
people
that
looking at that
it's
Mercator map still.
Africa is like the continent of Africa is actually way bigger than any other
Yeah,
continent.
it's
That's what it sounds like.
amazing. There's a picture that you can find out there it basically breaks up most of the countries of the world and places them inside the footprint of Africa and shows you how they can fit inside of it.
That's bananas.
It
That's
is.
bananas.
It
Cause
is. It
it's
was
this,
crazy.
it's just this thing with at least here living in the States to where it's like we don't have a physical wall, but we have this mental wall about how we view the rest of the world. And it's like we're being lied to. It don't matter if you're black, white, whatever you look
Yes,
like,
man.
we're all being lied to. So it makes sense when other people come to the country, it's like, oh
Every
well,
day.
I saw something different, but you're this regular schmegular dude, or
Right.
you don't like
And
watermelon?
this
No,
is
I hate watermelon. It's like what? So,
this is how contention comes between the peoples too, because
mm,
there's many people in this country that are like you and myself. We open to the world, but
yeah,
then you have other peoples who are, they stand on their Americanism solely, and
yeah,
people come over, and they're just like, why are you acting like you know so much? You, if you haven't left home, you only really know what they fed to you. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
And half of
And half
that,
the
half of
time,
that is
half, half of that
yeah,
is, what I'm saying? That's false medicine they giving you
yeah,
right there.
exactly,
You
exactly.
know what I'm saying? So, luckily, there's a lot of us here on this land that are doing the knowledge. But
Word.
there are definitely others who they're content. But I'd like to swing that all back. I even want to skip to say one thing that amazed me about Kenya is even though like you, I don't have any, at least as far as I know, I didn't know if I have any relation to that side of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they did us. I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
I can only go back until the 1800s before I lose my family. Like maybe like my
At least you can
grandma's
go that
parents,
far.
that's it,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
great grandparents, and
yeah.
it's kind of been done.
I mean, I just did a
That's
DNA
just
test. That was it.
right.
That was it. And
We
I still want to do some more stuff.
right for me on my grandmother's side out in Grenada, they had a major hurricane, so they lost a lot of their photos and records
Oh
back. My grandma was
man.
born, rest her soul. She passed a couple of years ago at 98 years old.
Oh wow.
She was born in 1921. So, back then, and then my other
That'd have been a
side of my
whole.
family, my dad's grandmother comes from India.
Really? Oh
So,
well, yeah,
so
that makes sense.
yeah, so that's how I have the India mix in my family. That's
Mm.
his grandmother. Um, so it's, and we can only trace that back to Calcutta because a lot of people, when they were coming to the Caribbean from India, they were leaving from the ports in Calcutta, and sometimes they would just record as the person being from there. It's not necessarily they might be there. It'd be like the equivalent
Wow.
of like all of us leaving, and the port is in Miami, so it doesn't matter if you come from Saginaw and I come from Queens. They
Yeah.
just write
It says
Miami.
Miami. Yeah.
It's in
Yeah. That
Miami.
makes
That's where that's
sense.
from.
That's
So I could, I have the last name and I can only trace it back so far. So it's like I'm living in the blindness. That's
mm.
why I feel the same as a lot of Americans who will be like, because of slavery, we can only trace back so far. It's like me too. I got
Wow.
100 years, and then I don't know who I am as a person.
Wow. Wow.
So
Wow.
being in Kenya was amazing because I saw at least one of every person I know that I grew up with. Like and you would see it too, like the faces that you're used to seeing. You'd be like, yo, that look like my boy Kenny, or like, this
Oh,
look
that's
like my,
crazy.
and you're like, oh snap, I can see how the motherland really like dispersed
Yeah,
around the world, and even
yeah.
the mannerisms. You watch people if they arguing,
Really?
they clapping, like talking like, what's going on? It's certain things are so universal. And
Yo,
I'm like,
that's
wow, I thought that was like something from America, like that we do,
right. Like, no, we
black people in
everybody does it.
America.
That's interesting. Like,
And it's like,
wow.
that's probably something in the blood, like a movement that just comes out. You get mad enough, you just start clapping your hands. You don't know why.
Right.
Like, does somebody want a problem? It's like,
Right.
it's,
Right. Yeah.
it's crazy.
So okay, let's give man, we could talk about this forever. So, when I first met you, when you joined our group, you were discussing about how you actually lived in the Dominican Republic for like what, a few months, right? You was like there for like a little bit, for like, was it like for studies or something like that? Or you was like, nah, I just feel like chilling and see what's gonna happen with life.
It's a crazy story.
Okay.
I'll try to keep it abridged because it's
No, no,
it's
no,
a
no, no.
long.
We got time. Well, it's 36 minutes. Unless you want to keep talking, we can keep talking, man. It's on you.
All right, this is the shortest version I can give you,
Okay.
minus the details. We can double back and go into the details.
Okay.
I was 24 in the year that I was going to be 25, so we're talking
Mm.
2005.
Okay.
I had just bought, like I said, I had bought the program, Learning Spanish Like Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I was going to be so serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of picked it up because I had Pimsleur. I did like 6 lessons. I was like, oh, you can kind of learn a couple of phrases, just listening and repeating. So I was like, let me find something a little more informal. I found that, and I just took to it. That style of learning it hit me. I was like, oh, this is kind of like how we learned as kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I did about 10 of the first lessons. My brother had married a Dominican woman,
Really?
and they had been dating for years,
Uh-huh.
and but they were living out the house. So I wasn't getting any of that kind of culturalization from that side.
Mm-hmm.
But she was my sister,
Yeah.
and so she's just like, look, your brother told me that you started studying Spanish, and we were going to Dominican Republic for like 10 days. I don't know if you wanted to roll with us,
Really?
but you can come with us and stay with the family and all that. So she has family in the countryside in San Francisco de Macorís, which is like it's close to Santiago, kind of.
Okay. Cause I'm like, I ain't never heard of that place.
It's in the country. It's beautiful though. When I say country, it's not like the like backwards kind of country. Like they modern down there.
Yeah.
They got
Okay. It ain't like going to like Mississippi or Alabama or something like that, like country
right,
like that.
right.
Okay.
It's like maybe going to like somewhere in North Carolina, maybe Raleigh or something like that.
I never been over there. I never been over in that area before. So I don't know how
Oh,
that
okay.
was.
That's a bad reference then. But,
I'm like,
but so boom. So she invites me. I booked the ticket. Like I said, I had just been studying a couple months now. It was March of 2005. I
mm,
started in like December, January.
yeah.
I'm working. At the time, I was in a long-term relationship. That was almost our 5th year going on. And she started with me too.
She was
So
learning
she couldn't
Spanish
make it
with
to
you
the,
too.
she started. We started those first like,
And she
six to
was cool
ten
with it?
lessons together. Yeah, she was doing it. And it's funny because she rapped too. So I think some of our talents is that, we both used to freestyle. I was a freestyle champ in my day.
Oh
And
man.
and she was dope in her own right too. So it was just like, let's just like use these skills and take these sentences and just kind of bounce them back and forth.
Yo.
So I go out to the DR. She couldn't
Mm,
make it. I go out there. 4 in the morning we land. We go to a neighbor's house that was like AKA a bread shop. He's like a baker. And they're
yeah.
like, since you guys came, it's 4 in the morning, you're probably hungry. Let's make sure y'all get some fresh bread and some food so we can go.
What?
And it's almost like life prepares you because I
Yeah.
had just learned how to say what type of blank is this in my in my lesson.
That's
Like
crazy.
maybe within the last week. You know what I'm
That's
saying? So
hilarious.
the bread comes out. My brother knows like some of the bad words, but he doesn't speak anything.
Mm,
So, they explaining it to him and I kind of miss it. So I'm like, and very slowly too. I'm early in the game, so I'm like, "¿Qué tipo de pan es eso?" And like
Yeah.
everybody just froze and looked up, like, and I had that feeling again, like, "Oh, I got all eyes on me." But they were like, "Joan," which they don't call me Sean all the time. It's Joan, so like John. So they were
Uh,
like, "Joan," but they're like, "You speak Spanish?" I was like, "I'm learning." They was like, "Yeah, for your brother, he gets English. For you, no más inglés
it's
para
a
ti."
rap. He said
That
it's
was
a rap.
it.
That one
I remember he
sentence.
kept talking to me in Spanish nonstop for 10 days. And no matter where he
Yo.
took me. And like, I didn't learn a whole bunch, but I learned some of the basic, like, things that made me know it was possible. They
Yeah.
kept, we might be playing dominoes and passing the beer or, something like that. And I keep hearing,
Mm.
pásame la cerveza,
Mm.
dame esa, dame. And I just start saying the same things myself. Okay, hey, and not with a great accent at the time. I'm just like, pásame this, pásame that. And I come back to America and I'm just like, wow, I totally think that I could probably live out the country. So I start talking to
Yo.
my girlfriend at the time, and it's kind of an idea in both of our minds. We end up breaking up that summer. And like at the same time, I'm going to work every day. I'm working in corporate, like a nonprofit corporate job
Mm.
and doing my thing, but my heart wasn't in it.
Wow.
When you just start showing up to work and you're just there, you just kind of going through the motions.
That's kind of how I feel right
I'm,
now.
I'm
Continue.
25 years old. I turned 25 in June or something. So fast forward to September, I'm single.
Wow.
I'm bored. I'm tired of my career, and I keep thinking about this dream where I'm like, man, when I was a kid and I used to be at my best friend's house, Eli, I would tell his mom that I'll probably live in Puerto Rico one day as an adult. And I'm like, I never thought I was
I
maybe going
wanted
to be
to do
serious about
that.
it, but maybe I should do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe it should be the DR instead of PR, since my sister-in-law, she got some family there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was crazy. I literally left from my job. I spoke to my boss, and he was like, I'm gonna let you go if this is what you want, so this way you could at least collect some unemployment before you do anything that you want to
Oh, your
do.
boss was looking out for you.
Yeah, he was dope. He was a dope black man
Yeah.
from California.
Oh, wow.
Was living in New York. He was the director of operations, and I was his
Mm-hmm.
assistant. So that was a
Oh,
dope
yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. That was dope. That was cool.
Yeah, he was like, don't just quit like that. He said, you ain't gonna get no money. But I was that tired. You know what I'm saying? I was so
Yeah.
tired, and I was still living at home at that time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I could have made those kind of crazy decisions.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's different now. Can't do
yeah,
that.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So I was just like, you know what? I'll probably never get another time. I had no children at the
Mm-hmm.
time. I'm like, I'm young, single. Now I don't even have the job like tying me down. I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe I should really look into this DR thing. And God always talks. Like, he always speaks. It was in my soul. I started looking up things. And one day I find this town. And once I find the town, I'm like, let me see the apartment prices. The apartment prices are looking amazing. I'm finding everything from between $150 a month to $450 a month.
$150 a month.
Right, right. And I'm just like, I
About
knew
to
it was
live
cheap
like a
because of
king.
being in the countryside, but this is in El Norte in Sosua. So
Okay.
Sosua is like right off of Puerto Plata,
I've heard of
Puerto
that place.
Plata, as some
Yeah.
folks might say. And I had never heard of it before. I'd never even been there. It was about 2 hours away from where her family was, and I specifically wanted that because I was like, I don't want any help. I don't want to be anywhere where
Wow.
I can fail and then have to rely on somebody to dig me out of that. It was
Wow.
just a
That's
desire of
interesting.
mine,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so because I felt like that's the best way to do it. Um, you know, I'm skipping some of the time because after I came back from the DR, I didn't just, drop my Spanish and then just pop up there to learn it. I was working. I was working hard. I was studying it. I finished
Wow.
that first level of 30 lessons
Yeah.
in April of that same year. Like I said, I went in March to the DR the first
Mm-hmm.
time. April of that year, I started volunteering teaching ESL on Saturdays for 3 hours, and I had no experience, but I kind of fibbed a little bit. I
Yeah.
called the company that somebody told me you know, does ESL teaching, and they need volunteers. So they were like, "You have experience?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, of course
Yeah,
I
of
do."
course
You
you
know,
do.
they're like, "Well, can you start?" It was Thursday. Like, "Can you start Saturday?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, of course I can." Like, "How
Yeah.
long is it?" It's like 3 hours. I was like, "Okay." I was like, "What's the level of the class?" They were like, "Well, they don't really speak any English."
Oh, you
I
were in
was
an
like,
advanced class.
"Okay,
You jumped right in
okay."
the frying pan, bro. Well, in the fire,
Yeah,
shoot.
but it was perfect because I printed off some of my early lessons that I was using, and I
Mm.
literally like remanufactured ways to teach them using my stuff. It was kind of like I tricked the system so I could have my practice really, right?
Yo, that's
So it's
dope
like
though.
I'm like, tell her, and I point. It's like dile a ella, tell
Uh-huh.
her, and I'm teaching them the basics. And yo, after work, I turned it up. I took another class, so it was like Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. I was teaching ESL after work and on the weekends for like an hour in the evenings, and on the weekend for 3 hours.
Bro, you were just getting like just immersed, man. And
Yeah,
that's
because I didn't know how else to do it. I didn't live by my brother's house or nothing, and I didn't have
yeah,
anyone in my vicinity that was speaking constant Spanish.
right.
Outside of maybe people I run into in the store or something like that, and that wasn't enough because in that first era, you don't really know what to say in a
Yeah,
conversation. You kind of just
yeah,
in the store like, hola, buenos dias. You got to just in the
maybe,
basics. You don't know. You don't know
right.
how to get
Yeah.
deep with it. You need,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I love the internet now because you need a person that you can interact with. And if I
Yeah,
had things like, iTalki and some of these other programs that I see
yeah.
out here where you can do a one-to-one with people,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have been in
It'd have been a
in
wrap. It'd have been a
money.
wrap. I wish I'd have known because that was my issue. Now I'm gonna be transparent. Like I speak it, but then I get like I don't know if you caught it offline. I got nervous as soon as you start talking to me. My brain was like, okay, I gotta switch this on real quick. Okay, crap. So I was like, but that's really one of my things. I'm
I
like,
didn't know this.
no,
I
yeah,
used
like I mean, I had to turn it on real quick, but I still get nervous. Like matter of fact, my wife's she's like her best friend. Her husband is where is he from? I think he's Salvadoreño or I don't know where that boy is from. But anyways, they live in Colorado.
como, como
So then
centroamericano más o menos.
him, I don't think so. I don't. No, I'm not. You know what? I'll ask her again because I don't. She said something like no, maybe it was Honduran. I don't remember. It wasn't Mexican, but man. But okay. So, anyways, the story. So what happened was, so my wife is like, "Oh yeah, my husband speaks Spanish too, and he likes the salsa dance because I really do." And I be getting on my wife like, "Look, man, when you gonna learn? Because I don't want to go and dance with nobody else. That's whack. I want to dance with my wife. That's kind of like a low key dream of mine is to dance with what I'm saying, my significant other. That's fun. So apparently
Nice.
her best friend is dealing with the same thing. Her best friend is African American. And so she's like, I don't know how to speak Spanish. I don't know how to dance salsa. I'm like, how you black and just don't know how to? It's like you can't pick. Anyways, that's me being judgmental because I was stiff as a board when I was learning.
You can't pass on the judgment now, man.
Look,
You can't
man, I
pass it
had to
on.
backtrack. I was like, bro, I was trash. Like that's why I was taking salsa lessons. I was just trash. I didn't know I was moving like a whole
Oh
robot.
man.
But so she said, "Yo, my husband speaks Spanish," and so she's like, "Oh, for real? Let me have my husband say something to him." She's like, "You know how we do. Say something to Spanish." I'm like, "What do you want me to
Yeah,
say?"
what do you want me to say? I don't know what to say.
Yeah, so I just the traditional, hey yo, what's up? Hey yo, que tú haciendo? Lo que estás haciendo? Oh, I'm working. Oh, you working too? Yeah, me too. Oh, yeah, I get to work from home. Oh, for real? That must be nice. Yeah, but my wife gets on my nerves. And then he started going in. I was like, nope, because now they're gonna be asking us what we talking about. I didn't say that in English. I was like, nope, we done, bro. Because as soon as I said
He was like
that,
TV time out. TV time.
right, I said no. I said we're gonna stop right there because he started going in. I had to stop him in the mid sentence. I forgot what he said, but I said
Oh
nope.
man.
I said we done, bro. Because I said they're gonna ask us what we said, and as soon as we finished, what did y'all say? And I was like, yeah. So I said at least I get to talk trash to somebody.
But
Talk trash.
does nervousness still hit you when you get into the conversations?
Yeah, always. I don't for what's the weird thing with me? It's almost equivalent to me singing live. Almost. You know what I'm saying? But I've been
Mm.
singing all of my life. But for some strange odd reason, as soon as I became an adult, I just got nervous singing in front of people versus being a kid. But when it's in Spanish,
Wow.
it's like, but you know what the weird part is? The ironic part? I'm not nervous singing in Spanish. Like in reference to like speaking it, like I can sing it all day. Like if it's a song I
Mhm.
know, I'll sing it because it's like, oh, it's almost like muscle memory. I know what I'm
Right.
saying. I know the words are, so I can translate them if I wanted to. But it's like I don't know what this next person's gonna say as soon as I respond. You know what I'm saying? I could. You know what's funny? What's something my god brother did, and I'm gonna try to reach out to him too because I haven't talked to him in
Mhm.
like a few years. But he when he was learning, and he's African American, he would learn how he would learn. He did something really weird, Sean, and I was like, how did you figure this out? But he said, I'm gonna create like a guesstimation of what how they might respond,
No, I
and
totally
I was
agree with
like,
that. I
what?
want to hear his version because I have my way of wording that, but
I'm
he
gonna
sounds
reach.
like the same.
That's just the way I worded it. He said it a certain way, but basically he was like he would say something and he would he would make like sentences to say like what they could possibly say back to him, and I was
Yes,
like, personally,
I
I probably need to work
totally
on
get
that
it. Yeah.
because I'm like that. It's wild. I'm gonna try to hit him up. You really do that. You really do that. Oh, I can't hear you, bro. You just went silent. You went silent. Nope, still can't hear you. Still can't. All right, give me one sec. No, you're good. Give me a sec. So we're gonna keep the stream going, but we're gonna go on that real quick. All right, and I'm gonna do is just edit this on the podcast itself. So with the live, ain't nothing we can do about it. So give me a sec. I'm gonna hang up with you right now, and then I'm gonna call you right back. Okay. All right, hold on. All right, guys. Sorry about that delay there. Internet. So all right, yep, I can hear you now. All right, we're back at it, guys. So,
Hey, what
but
a
yeah,
surprise.
soon as we start really talking, the internet said nope.
But
But
I just wanted to say what I try to do, which is I like how he worded that or how you explain that. What I try to say is if you were watching your favorite show or anything in general on a TV and you had it on mute, could
oh,
could you reasonably figure out what it is that people are saying when they enter a room? And for the most part, you can because
you
body
know what?
language is 90% of it.
You're
You know,
right.
somebody get in there, they wave and say, la di da di. This is probably good morning or hello, but I definitely know it's something to take to do when I get into a room. I'm not even gonna ask why. I'm just gonna say it. That's where I
Yeah.
got to my language learning. Like I think that was impeding me, always asking why all the time. And
Hmm.
I'm gonna tie it back in with the story of the same year going to the DR, man. My
Okay.
nephew was 5 at the time, and he was learning faster than me. And I realized the difference was his mom said, "This is what you say, que me traiga el vaso," for example, and
Yeah.
I'll be like, how come you didn't say tráeme el vaso? Why is it que me traiga? And I'm like, and I write it down. I'm like, I gotta write it to here to. I need to write it down so I can see it in my brain, so I can know how to say it correctly. My nephew, I see him a couple weeks later. He just says it. He didn't even sweat it.
Think. Yeah.
It's like how did you say that, mom? Que me traiga. All right, que me traiga el vaso. And then he just says it and he uses it. He knows when to use it and he knows how to use it. He's not worried about why to use it.
Now, in
And
this
that was
case, he's not saying it like a command. He's kind of like, could you do this for me?
it's
When he
like
was
yeah,
saying,
it's
yeah,
a suggestion.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it translates to different things depending on circumstance, but I can give you a
Right.
good example. Um,
I'm trying to get some more people. Go ahead. I'm gonna tag somebody else because there's a
hey,
brother here. He's learning Spanish, and I want to get him in here. No, so go ahead and continue, man.
it's it's like let's say you get a phone call for somebody in your house, but they're not home. And then when they get home, you're trying to relay a message to them,
Got it.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like John said you should call him. You know what I
Okay.
mean? It'll be like que llame. I started with que and I'll go into that llame instead of saying, llama.
Mm-hmm.
I say, you should speak to him, que le
Yeah.
hable, papá, que le hable. Que le,
Got it. Got it.
or I would, like when I lived in the DR, and let's say I'm on the motoconcho, which is the taxi on, motorcycle taxi.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. They have
And
those?
yeah, definitely. That's
Really?
that's the main mode of transportation out there. You can get
Really?
all around town for like 10 pesos. They might,
Yo,
they might
I
charge
need.
they charge the tourists like 90 pesos without saying nothing. But
Oh,
when you
so
get
I gotta
over the
make sure that
prices,
my Spanish, so they can like, oh, okay, we're gonna let you
definitely,
slide, bro. Bad, bad,
definitely.
bad.
And so I get off of the bike and I'll be like, you should wait for me for like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Wait for me for like 5 minutes. I'm like, que me espere, well, that's my
Yeah.
Dominican accent. I'll be like, que me espere, por favor.
No, no, use the Dominican, cause I
Okay.
I I, ca- I cater to the Caribbean part. So we'll discuss
Well,
if you
I say,
let's discuss that too as well. Like far as
we
like the
we
letters
use
dropping.
well they aspirate the S's. That's a very common thing around wherever blackness touched. You
Yep.
find it
Yep.
in from Costa Rica to Honduras to Choco in Colombia. So
Mm.
they pretty much aspirate the S. So instead of saying espere, it'll be like espere,
Yeah, like we do that here. Like we have
espere.
family in the South that, hey, yo, what up, cook? You know what I'm saying? Like they talk like
Totally,
it's
totally like that.
same way, and
That's
it's really
because
weird.
it's everywhere that blackness touched. Is what I'm
Yeah,
trying to tell you.
yeah,
It becomes like a little thing you could do, and people can say it normally if they want to, but it becomes just kind of common. It's just like you drop
yeah.
that off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so just to get back into that, that's kind of I don't even know if y'all wanted to go into that. I didn't
No, no,
want to
no,
turn
no,
it to
no.
a
We can because
but
that's the name of the show. Yo hablo
but
español
but these are
también.
useful things, like if
Yeah.
you telling somebody to wait for you, you could say, espérame or
Mm.
espérame,
Right.
por favor.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a little stronger, like you should wait for me, or it's like que me espere.
Right.
It's a little bit more like wait for me.
Like yo, for real, for real.
Yeah,
Like
wait for me real
it
quick.
sounded like it sounded like there was some desperation behind that. Like, please don't leave me.
But it comes across in good way too, like
Yeah.
because it can also be like the implication is, I might be wishing something for you, or I might want something for
Yeah.
you.
You're right.
Like, I say like, look, I want you to wait for me. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
same form that's gonna come up. That que me espere is gonna be yo quiero que me
Right.
espere. Quiero que me espere. And like when I was first learning, I didn't understand those things. I'd say something
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know what I would say, but I definitely wouldn't say espere.
Wow. That's
I'll
funny.
be like,
Let
I'll be
me
like, quiero tú esperarme, but you get these forms, you just got to keep using them. It's like the gym, to be honest with you.
yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
after teaching all that ESL, from April till November, I left the day after Thanksgiving. I booked my ticket.
Got it.
I was trying to get into the fact that I just found my town, I found an apartment, and then I just looked up a school because I wanted to
Yeah.
certify myself. And they
Mm-hmm.
were a block apart. So I said, okay, I said, God's talking to me. I'm gonna book my
Mm-hmm.
ticket and go.
Yeah.
But once I got down there, it wasn't just the fact that I was there, because there were other people who were new in town
Mm-hmm.
that eventually became even students of mine. I stayed over 3 years.
Oh,
I
you
went
were there
back to
that long.
yeah, I went because I went down for 30 days, but I created a hustle, and I got to go soon, but I'll definitely break down the hustle real quick.
Okay.
But I say being down there, I had to train up. I had to not just like expect to go to the bar and learn it. I had to literally
Right.
look at a less or a chunk of information and say, okay, this is an irregular verb or something like that, and then
Mm-hmm.
go out
Mm-hmm.
and be like, I'm going to use this. I'm going to specifically use this. That was like my biggest talent.
Hold on,
If
give me
my
a sec.
lesson said
Give me a sec, Sean.
if my lesson said something about it, yeah,
Hold
yeah,
on,
yeah.
dame
Sorry,
un
brother.
momento. No, 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 you good. So one of the brothers, I tagged him in here, and he's actually learning Spanish right now. So like he'll ask
Mm-hmm.
me questions here and there, but I tagged him in it because I wanted him to hear what you had to say about certain things. So for the people that's listening on the podcast, please forgive me. I'm not going to really, I guess I can say his name. Hey, yo, boss, what's going on, bro? So listen, man, this is Shaun Skeete. He's one of my brothers, not like blood brother, but I created a group a few years back and we linked up. My man is dope
So
with his Spanish. So this is what this episode is particularly about speaking Spanish about. And then we're going to, maybe we can get into that. I don't know if you got time for it though. Like kind of like some tips and tricks in order to help you with your Spanish. But I know with him, with boss, what I was telling
I
him,
got
Shaun, was
you.
that gravitate to a certain dialect, which may help him, but still learn the basics. So he's still learning the basics. But I think either he's around people trying to talk it right now, but I wanted to tag him in that video or in this particular video so he can,
You
what I'm
said
saying? He should be
he's
looking
sticking
at
to a
it right.
particular dialect too.
I'm not sure what dialect he's into. I just told him to pick one, so I don't know which one he picked.
Yo,
But
listen, that's probably the number one advice you could, pick
yeah.
pick a particular country, culture, because I like to relate it to my students like this. I'll say,
Oh, I figured
somebody,
it's Dominican. I figured. He said I'm about to be
oh, okay,
Dominican. That boy
all right,
funny.
that's awesome. You know what I mean? Listen, once we get offline, link me with the brother, because
I'll link you up
I
with him.
definitely know this little Dominicanismo that I could teach him,
Oh, okay.
Dominicanisms.
Okay, he being
So,
nice.
um, damn, I lost my whole train of thought
Oh,
here,
so
man.
what we were talking about earlier,
Oh
you
yeah,
said you was talking about
picking
3 years there.
uh,
Yeah.
no, let me say, to pick a certain dialect or a certain country, because imagine somebody who is learning English, right?
Hmm.
And they had, like, you're talking to them and they say one line and it's like a line from like a New York kind of accent, and the next line
Hmm.
is like a Texas kind of thing, then the next line has some slang from Britain,
Yeah,
or
that
Australia,
is weird.
because they're just grabbing the English wherever it comes from,
Hmm. That is,
and
you
it
got. I
sounds weird.
like it.
It'd be like,
Yeah, that sounds
you
weird.
know what I mean? Kind of sound like you'd be like Ice Cube switching to Jay-Z, switching to like Prime Minister. You
Switching to
know,
Ti. Like, hold
it'd
up.
be weird. And the same in Spanish. You start off Dominican, you be like, oh, you get okay, and then you mix to Mexican, like, like, órale, órale, carnal,
Yeah, that
dime.
is weird.
And then you go to like from Spain, you be like, oh, vale, vale, ¿cómo estamos? Like how they speak in the mouth.
Right,
It'd be
right.
strange. So it's
Yeah,
good to just pick one thing, and I even say it trains your ear better,
yeah.
because once you can hold on to one person's rhythm or swing, you can literally hear all the other strings on the guitar. You know what I mean? Like you
Oh,
pick your
that's
string and you
good.
hear the rest,
That's
and it's just like this.
wow. You know what's funny is that of course like it's basically between like Puerto Rican, Dominican, and Cuban, like far as like their dialect, because they kind of sound similar. The cadences are different, but I
For
figured
sure.
like when I first started learning, they was like, don't learn it from this place, learn it from here because we speak correctly. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm trying to hear it from like whatever place you think
Mm.
is the worst because it sounds jacked. I'm like, if I can understand what they're saying, oh, I can definitely understand what you're saying.
But
You know what I'm
it's
saying? And
true.
that's just how I thought. I was like, oh, they're dropping their S's, they're rolling their R's, they're doing this. So if I hear you say it the right way, it's almost
Uh,
like
you,
it's almost like taking the
you smart,
headphones
brother.
off and now I can hear clearly. But I'm listening to
You're
Spanish
very
like
smart.
this. You know,
It's
with some
100%
head
true.
muffs.
Once, like I started off speaking, like my ESL students were mostly like Guatemalan and Mexican. So my
Wow.
first Spanish was like, hola, ¿cómo estás? Yo
Mm-hmm.
me llamo Sean.
Yeah.
¿Qué están haciendo ahora? Like that kind of accent. And
Uh,
I got DR doing that too. I'm like, hola, hola, ¿cómo estás? And they're like, oye, moreno, ¿cómo tú estás? And I'm
right.
just like,
Talking like your cousin. You're like, hold
wait,
up.
what? Like, ¿cómo tú estás? Like, they'll slow it up even. Like, ¿cómo tú estás? Like, oh, okay. That's
Were
what
they
you're saying?
singing? Did it sound like they were singing? Like they were singing a whole bachata song when they were talking to you, or no? That's not what happened.
And you know
Do they
what? I
actually
might be
have a
jaded
cadence like
because
that?
people say Trinidadians that we sing when we talk too. So,
But see,
it's
I
like,
heard the same. No, but see, I heard the same thing about Mexicans too. I was like, I can kind of hear that. But when
eh,
I started listening to
yeah,
Dominicans, I was like, nah, bro, you trying to
maybe from the
serenade somebody.
countryside, but anybody from like, como like the Mexico City, I was gonna say la
Uh,
DF, Mexico City, that accent that's probably what you're gonna hear when you watch any novela, like a standard novela, like it's a straight
mm-hmm,
accent,
mm-hmm.
accent like that. I think there's some dope accents in Mexico, and in fact, when you find the uh, the diaspora again out in the south of Mexico,
Yeah,
Oaxaca,
yeah.
They dropped their S's. They breathed the S's again.
Really? You know what's
Totally.
funny? I got a homeboy. I think he's from Oaxaca, but he don't talk like traditional Mexicans talk. Like when cause he does rap, he raps. I'm like, he has a certain act because he's Mexican, but I'm like, he don't sound like what I'm
Yeah.
accustomed to hearing. And I'm like,
I'm gonna send you a
okay,
couple of links. They
all
have
right,
some films they made in the last few years. There was one a couple like maybe 2 years ago, a documentary.
really?
Anybody who's looking can Google it about Oaxaca, and it's
Oh yeah,
dope.
yeah. Shoot that to me, bro.
Like they talk about pretty much similar things that you see happening here, and
Mm,
how people are viewing them based on the color of their skin and treating them a certain way, and
wow.
they just got counted in the
Oh
census,
yeah, yeah. They
and
what
there's a lot
2015
of
and then
people.
again last year.
I've seen
That's
some posts of
crazy.
people talking down about that in Mexico, and I'm just like, it's unfortunate. It's the same thing as here. If they were American, they'd probably be Trumpers or something like that.
Right?
I'd be Red
Dang.
Hat wearers or something.
Bruh, that's so. Let me ask you this question. Because you
Hmm.
basically I didn't I thought it was like few months. You said 3 years.
Yeah, in its totality, it was 24 months
Yeah,
within the span of 3 years. Like I left that
got it.
November, I
Oh, then
got
you
down
came
there.
back. Like you would leave and
The,
come
well,
back.
I came back. I went for 30 days, and I
Yeah.
had to extend my ticket because I'm
Ah.
always in hustle mode, man. I'm a pure New Yorker that way,
Okay, got it.
So I got down there. Just like I told you, there was a couple of schools I was looking at. So I went to one, but there was an English school also that I was like, let me look at the prices and see what they're doing here. And I
Hmm.
learned that at the time they were charging like 5,000 pesos per person each month. Mensualmente is how you say that in Spanish,
Oh, okay.
mensualmente,
Mensualmente.
or
Okay,
por
got it.
mes, you could even say.
Okay.
So I was like, wow, knowing that some of the people in the streets were telling me how difficult it was for them to get that amount of money in a month, I was like, man, it must be expensive. And these people were so interested in education. The
Hmm.
Dominicans, the Haitians that live there, they're
They
all
really.
about learning.
Oh, you
Yeah,
made me think about that.
my town was at least 40% Haitian. You know what I mean? So that's.
Really? In the DR they. Oh, I got another question. The
Mhm.
peninsula, what is it called? What is it called? Samana, Samana, where it's like the
So not
top.
where the whales are.
I don't know. I just
Yeah,
read
that
about it. It's
yeah,
basically where like
that's there's
African Americans migrated there.
an
Did you
English
get a chance to
speaking
go up
company.
there?
Just once,
Really?
I went briefly, and I didn't stay too long, but it wowed me. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
I was like, oh, they didn't even know you guys exist really in the
I didn't
States.
know about it until the group. Like when Tito posted it and said they came from like Philly, I was like, yo, I probably got some
Yeah.
cousins over there because if they came from the United States, they came originally from the port was Virginia, and then it
Hmm.
dispersed everywhere. So I'm like, I might have a relative over there. You know what I'm
And
saying?
don't even know.
And don't even know it because some of them
And
got
vice
English
versa.
surnames and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But
It's
bruh,
dope, man.
it's wild. Yeah, it is dope. You're right. You're right.
So where were we edging out with this? We've been all over the
You
place.
said, yeah, I know.
I like the
Look, man,
conversation.
this is what I do, bro. Sorry.
Um,
We was talking about you living in the DR.
how I ended up staying so long, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So boom, I'm like, okay, they're charging 5,000 pesos a month.
Hmm.
I told somebody who I was just getting to know in the town, I'm like, look, my brother, if you bring me four more people, I'll charge each of you guys 1,000 pesos a month
Oh, that's
for this
not bad.
class.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
I'm undercutting the school, charging pretty much, one fifth of what's going on
Oh, you
right
said you
now.
were from New York, so you like you were just hustling. That was
Yeah, I'm gonna undercut the school. Right.
yeah.
If they're charging one person 5,000 pesos for
Hmm.
45 minutes to an hour of class,
How
I
much
can
does that
still teach
equate
that
to? How much does that
at
equate
that
to?
time. At the time, 1,000 pesos would have been about $30.
Oh, that's not bad.
So yeah, so times that by five, and you get your numbers there.
Yeah, because it's like 1 peso. Like right now, it says 1 peso, 1 Dominican peso is equivalent to not even
Like
it's like a
50
penny.
something.
Nah, it's
Yeah.
like a penny, man.
What is it to the dollar right now? It went up.
Like if we had a dollar, let me see, our dollar, it would be 58.4 pay. That's
All right.
ridiculous.
So it was 33 in my day. So So,
That's crazy.
essentially $150 a month. And I'm just like, I'm coming to you and basically I'm like, look, I'll charge you $30, but you gotta bring four of your friends. So I'll still get the
You
same.
was giving them a serious discount.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the
Yeah.
same 150 as the school gonna get. I'm gonna still teach for 45 minutes to an hour. I had just come off of teaching ESL
So
for my
basically, you was
first
like a
time for like the
tutor.
last 6 months.
You were like an after school
Yeah,
tutor. After you didn't taught them at the school, you said, "Meet me at my crib, and I'm going to tutor you." Boy, you are
basically.
hilarious.
So you know what I'm saying? So I take
Yeah.
the business, and then they kept telling other people, and within like let's say 3 to 4 weeks, I had 6 classes going. That's 30 people.
A question.
Yeah.
So
So I
my
changed my ticket.
brain.
I told my mom, I said, you know what? Um, I'm not coming back yet. I'm gonna come back in like April or something like that because I have enough money. You know, I was
So
making it. My rent was coming up to about 5,000 pesos. I'm making like 30,000 pesos. I
right,
didn't go down
that
there
was
and
a
ball
come up.
out,
You
but
could live like a
it was
king for
enough.
real.
It was enough. You know what I'm saying? And I was
So
25 years old. So I just I'm like,
I'm
why am I
chilling.
coming back to New York for?
Right.
What
I
am I
got
doing?
this question. I got this question because my brain just said, "Yo, hold up," because I'm listening to you and you was like, "Yo, like." More people kept asking about me. I'm like, were you this low key, undercover, well known dude in that certain area within that city, like in the DR? Because that's what it sounds
It's a,
like.
it, it's such a small town. It's like small town anywhere. The word spread so fast, and plus, I stood out like a sore thumb. I had just put my locks in.
Oh
I had
wow, because they
braids
didn't
for
really
like
do
three
locks back then,
years.
did they?
No, not at all.
Who
And
knows, man?
so
You could have been a trendsetter and
it's
didn't even know
interesting.
it.
My first trip in March, I still had my braids. I had 3 years worth of braids, long
Mm,
ones too.
mm.
Um, and I got so much like love. They even sometimes thought that I could be from around there until we start speaking, kind of
Yeah.
thing. But when I went back down now in November, I had this, I just spun them up, spun my
Mm.
hair down so it kind of shrunk. It's like spiky kind of look, back like when Lil Wayne first came out with his lock,
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
spiky and back. So I know I stood out because of that. But I think my benefit in those days was that coming like fresh from New York, being young, all the other people who were from like America or Great Britain and living there were these
Mm.
old retirees. And all the
Wow.
teachers that could teach you, even though they speak English, it's like, these kids are watching BT at the time, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
want to know. They're like, what is this 50 Cent? Like they want to know they want to know the slang. They want to know Snoop Dogg. They want to know Drop It Like It's Hot
Wow.
had just dropped around that time. Like
That's hilarious.
they're like, I love Snoop Dogg. Like what is they want to know. And so me being so young and also like I knew my grandma. Like I said, I've been a writer forever. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like I just playing around. Like I could tell a person, the past perfect from the pluperfect,
Mm-hmm.
the preterite, imperfect
Yeah.
tenses. I could have done that
Yeah.
with my eyes closed, even though I
Wow.
hung out on the
Wow.
streets all the time. Like I loved grandma growing up.
Yeah.
So I just transferred that kind of like my hip hop love of words skill. I used everything, like you say, it's kind of borrowing things. Like
Yeah.
to stand in
Yeah.
front of the class felt like a performance to me, and to take three pieces of a word and say, me gustaría, and
Mm-hmm.
then put it to another verb like hablar, and then end it off with contigo to say I would like to talk to you
Yeah.
was like freestyling for me. You know what I'm saying? Like taking a word
Hmm.
that you don't see coming and I make two other words rhyme with it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm thinking a line ahead of what's coming out my mouth when I'm freestyling. So that's
Wow.
the same.
That's good. Wow.
I'm
Wow.
I'm freestyling. I'm taking 3 or 4 bits and I just keep interweaving the same things. And like I think what slows people down is that you feel like you have so much that you need to learn, but honestly, it's just like English. If you really listen to yourself, you're saying
Mm-hmm.
like the same 100 words all the time. Like it's like yo, I would like to this, I want this, I need
Right.
this.
Yeah. Man.
Necesito hablar, quiero hablar. Like you just could just keep trading out.
So okay, so living in it, I'm still man, because the only place I ever lived in was Korea, but that's because I was in the military. So, but what would be the highest point living in the DR and maybe like something that all equivalent that came to I can't even say it in English, that kind of like equated to like these are learning lessons that I can share with somebody else. What were like a high point and a low point living in the DR for you? Like as far as language is concerned, because that's the part that we really want to.
I was gonna ask you that because because I could, depending on what we talk about, that's two different things. But language wise, all right,
Yeah.
probably. Okay, I'll give you one from my early days. Like the first vacation that I took there with my brother and his wife, or my sister, as I call her.
Mm.
Mm. I, of course, didn't know much. I knew that I could kind of guess certain words because, when you recognize like Latin and certain things, I was always good at spelling bees. You can kind of connect certain things, right?
Okay.
You see
Yeah.
apartment, you see apartamento. You're like, okay, these languages have some relation. I can guess them
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So trying to tell them, they're like, they probably were saying to me, keep on speaking, but I'm not hearing everything. I'm like, hello, repítamelo. And they're like, say it, say it, say it. So I try to tell them I'm nervous. And so I'm like, no puedo, yo estoy embarazado. And I told him I was pregnant.
Yeah.
That's a mistake that I learned that word well that day because the whole room erupted in laughter. They start clapping, they start congratulating me. Oh, primer hombre! Like the first one. Why is everybody like laughing, congratulating?
Yo, I'm dead.
Like you kind of just told them that you're pregnant. I'm like, but I said embarrassed, embarazado. They're like, don't stop saying it. Just like, you know what? Just say you have shame. Just say tengo vergüenza. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
tengo vergüenza.
Yeah.
Or so
They said primero
like
varón.
Now, at the opposite end now, I give you a story from when I was fluent now. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I probably got to my fluency probably about like a year. So let's say fall of 2006.
Wow.
Real fast with it because I'm starting to realize I'm like, oh, I'm saying the same things every day. And once you're saying the same things every day, you're not as worried. That's what took the nervousness. It's kind of like the gym. Like you just keep doing something, and then all of a sudden you could lift the bar a little bit heavier. Like you're not even scared of that one no more, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just consistency. So boom, one wants to visit me, and I want to set him up at a house that has like a couple different apartments there, and I know the owner. I know him well. I think I had taught a couple of his friends and just kind of got cool with him over time.
Yeah.
And I'm in my third year now, right? Past 2006. I'm well into my fluency. But I start to realize now that I didn't always like speaking Spanish, right? Because sometimes the authorities will harass me depending on if they think that I'm some New Yorker that they could try to get money from. Maybe like, these because the young guys will come out here looking for their girls and they might have drugs on them or something. So like, let's pull this young guy over. Or they might think I might be from Haiti. It could be anything. There is some colorism.
I never thought about that.
For days. That's why I said, we talking language or what? This ties in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the owner's name of the house was Rohan. Right? Like it'll be Rohan in English. And he's taking a long time to come out of the house. I don't know what he's doing this day. My friend is sitting next to me. And the cops, I rented a car, and the cops just roll up on us, like on some, get out the car.
Sound
and
like
just
here in the
start
States.
demanding my papers. They're like, yo, dame los papeles. Blah, 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 blah. I straight go into I don't know Spanish mode, right? I'm just like, excuse me? I'm like, sir, no hablar, no, mind you, I'm super fluent at this time.
This is rich.
This is rich. I don't even know if I'm at that same level now because like I'm high up, but at that point, I'm totally waking up at night and my first thought, instead of in English, it's in Spanish. Like, who's outside? Like, ¿quién estaría fuera de mi casa? Like, I was in it. So for me, it was totally dope. I'm playing a role right now, like an actor. I'm like, yo, I know. Okay. And he's like,
hilarious. That's funny.
And he's trying to explain to me that, like, he's looking for a car like mine.
But you knew what he was saying the whole time.
Oh, hell yeah. Like, yo, you think this is the guy? And I'm hearing this. It's like hearing them clearly, but pretending like I'm not. I finally understood what it is when somebody.
It's like being in the Matrix.
Sometimes pretends, and they're like, no English. Sometimes
Mm,
they know English, right? Because I knew Spanish, but I didn't
mm-hmm.
know no Spanish that day. And I'm just like, no hablar. I was putting a bad American accent on it.
That's hilarious.
He's just they're like, what we gonna do with this guy, man? It's like, I don't know if it's him. At the same time, my
That's
boy
wild.
Rohan, Rohan comes out the house now from this
Oh
side, across,
no. Oh
and
no.
he's like, Joe, dime a ver, ¿por qué no te contigo? And I respond to him without thinking.
And the cops
I'm
were
like,
there?
oh, yo estoy aquí nomás. Like I'm here, I'm chilling, yo estoy aquí nomás, tranquilo
Were
nomás.
the cops still there?
Están jodiendo. And I told him, I'm like, yo, they're effing with me. I'm like, están jodiéndome ahora.
Oh shoot.
And then the policeman hit me like, ven acá. He's like, yo, come on, man. I'm like, I just say what's on the board. I
Yo.
just hit, come on, man. I'm like, yo, and so now I'm talking in Spanish, like, my bad, man. Like, my bad, yo. Like, the way you just rolled up on my car, I didn't know who you were and what you were doing. Like, I'm like, so he's like, so are you from here? Are you Haitian? Or are you really from New York or what? I'm like,
Dang,
I'm
he
really
asked you
from
were
New
you
York.
Haitian? Like they oh well, it's 2005, 2006, so that makes some sort
Yeah.
of sense.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And I'm not gonna say it's everybody's like that because I definitely met a lot of Dominican and Haitian couples when I was out there. I met a lot.
Really?
Like, this whole families. I met
Mm.
Dominicans that could speak some Creole. You know what I mean? That would look like Mark Anthony color. You know what I'm saying?
But
It's
they're
not.
but they're
It's
but
not.
they're Haitian.
Sometimes they're Haitian, sometimes they're not. There's some
Wow.
Dominicans who just have love. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
think over here when they talk about it, they're just like, yo, Dominicans hate black people, they hate black color. But I
I
would have
dealt with
never
that.
been
I thought
able
that was
to.
weird. I was like, what did
I
I do to
wouldn't have been able
you?
to last that long in a place. I'm
Mm-hmm.
all about my blackness and my righteousness.
Yeah, yeah.
I was full Rasta in these times, so I wasn't. I couldn't have. You know, I just think it's just like with the last 4 years in America. If you ask the average person about Americans, they like, yo, why do Americans hate Muslims or whatever? And there's a you and a me who
Mm-hmm.
live in this country that we don't have anything like that in our heart,
Right, right.
but it's only the other stuff that gets out in the media that's representing us on a larger
Exactly.
scale.
Yeah. And
You
that
know what I'm
makes a
saying?
lot of
So there's a lot
sense.
there's a lot of effed up stuff that happens down there, but that
Absolutely.
unfortunately people who aren't concerned with that, they're not getting any type of shine like that.
You got a point.
You do see a bigger movement with like Dominicans and Afro hair. I see a lot of hair blogs now. I see a lot of uh, people who would traditionally like doing things to, I don't want to say the word erase blackness, but I'll say the words erase blackness.
We still doing that? Like, well,
It's a,
among
it's,
don't get
it's
me
a
started on
push
that.
for people to perm less. It's a push for people to more know their roots
Yeah, I
and
love stuff like that.
the younger generation is they're doing their work because
Yeah,
the internet
yeah,
fortunately has kind of like meshed people in a way where even the folks that have left out coming back and giving them knowledge and all of that, like
exactly. Yeah,
they're
yeah,
very abreast of what's going on in this world. They
yeah.
see
Like
what's up.
they, so speaking of that, cause my homeboy, he just asked you, he was asking a question. He said, how long did it take you? You said it took you for you to be fluent. It took you like a good year? But you were immersed, right?
But remember, I had my ESL time, so I want to
Got it.
say I didn't think of leaving until I was comfortable enough having a conversation about basic stuff.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? So for one, I had 101 verb lists. I still be teaching off of that. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? Of like the basic verbs, and I'll email that to you so you can give it to the brother. It's not even,
Okay.
you know,
I'm
it
gonna
ain't like
study it
some type
myself because I
of
really don't have nobody to
extra.
like speak to, like for real. So
Like,
I'll just go over it.
a lot of this stuff is free and out there, but I amassed a list of the words I needed to know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't worry about learning all the conjugations, but I did have them on index card. I wrote them out, and in about 5 days, I knew
Wow.
them because every hour on the hour, I just pick them up,
Start
and
studying.
I'd be like, okay, if I hard means to go down,
Mm-hmm.
hard, and the whole thing. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Um, who, what, where, why, when. You
Yeah.
got to know that.
Yeah. You have
You know
to
what
know
I'm
that.
saying?
You have.
That
I'm
one
sorry. I'm
right
looking at
there
my
helps you
message.
out a
Like
whole lot.
you have to know that, boss. You have to learn
Yeah,
that, sir.
yeah. So I knew how to have those basics within my first, let's say from December 2004 to
Mm-hmm.
November 2005. I could walk
Got it.
into a normal shop and say, I would like some coffee.
Okay, yeah,
How
that's
much is the
yeah,
coffee?
yeah.
I
Too
need
easy.
I need change. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I am staying at this place down the block.
Got it.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I'm going to. So I had a simple present tense kind of mastery, and
Mm-hmm.
I used boy I, like I'm going to, like it was going out of
Got it.
style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
That's almost like a cheat code. Like that is make life
definitely,
easy.
definitely.
Yeah.
Right, and I just started dabbling in the past because the program I was using was introducing it to me, but I wasn't super nice with it like that. Once I arrived in November with these tools, now I'm using these tools and sharpening myself with the tools.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
could have, and so it took me from that November to, let's say, April
Okay.
to feel totally comfortable. Maybe even less than that. Tell you the truth, there was a girl that I was dating,
Okay. In the DR.
right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and she's still my friend to this day. And
Wow.
what was dope about her was that her natural accent is she's a slow speaker. You know, she takes her time,
Really?
like let's say how like when you listen to Jill Scott and Jill is just paced, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? I would listen to her, and even though she had the dialect I wasn't used to, she would ask me certain things. And I'm talking about this was my second month down there. And she's just like, you know, would you like to go to the store later? You know, ¿te gustaría ir al colmado un poquito más tarde? ¿O qué quieres? ¿A qué hora tú quieres salir? And like, I just start understanding it. I was realizing that I wasn't
Wow.
concentrating to hear her at the second
Yeah.
month. Right? So
Man.
that definitely helped. It's like if you could find, that's why I say it's always about just having one consistent person to speak with.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
recreated this in French and I didn't date anybody who speak in French.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I'm saying?
saw a few videos on Facebook. You was like, I'm like, when did you start doing
Ouais, il faut parler un
that?
peu de français aussi. Like you know, I practice it, but it's only because of the stuff I learned that first time. Like you
Mm-hmm.
build yourself up to think you need to immerse yourself. You build
Yeah.
yourself to you build yourself up to think that you need like this whole big list of words. Like
Yeah.
whenever I learn a new language, you know what I'm saying, to speed myself up in it, I'm only focusing on the stuff that was gravy for me when I moved to the DR. You know,
Yeah.
I discarded a lot of stuff that I didn't need. So it's like,
Hmm.
you know, get the thought of like I like and I would like. Learn
Yeah. Yeah.
those two
Yeah.
things.
I hope boss is still listening. Those are actually really that's just a simple cheat code too.
You
Anywhere
know what
you
I'm
go.
saying? Right. So like, and you'll find the same kind of patterns in no matter what language that you're doing it in. It'd be like, you know, I don't know, I want to sleep, you know, I would like to sleep. And in French, you'd be like, je voudrais dormir. And then
Wow. And I can hear that. I didn't know they used that
it's,
word. They use the
yeah,
same word.
yeah.
It sounds like.
Oh, yeah,
Is it spelled the same way?
definitely. Yep. They have a lot of the
Oh.
same.
Well, shoot.
Hmm. And
Okay.
then, you know, you be in like Swahili, they have like, Nina taka kulala, Nina taka kulala. And it'll be the same kind of breakdown. Like it'd be like, I want to, Nina taka, and then
Mm.
like to sleep, kulala. It's like, it don't even
Wow.
matter.
So let me ask you this
So,
question.
mhm.
Um, now you're back in the States now. So with oh man, so with I'm laughing because I was kind of like I got it. I'm looking at the time too. I told you we was going. This is over an hour.
I
But
know I'm late for something, but it's all right. I
all right,
just
so this
kind
is
of
gonna be
know
my last. This is gonna be my last question.
what it's our
So
business, so it's all right.
yeah, so now you're here in the States, right? I know you
Yeah.
were doing some tutoring a little bit. The reason why I found out is because I looked at your LinkedIn. Okay, I was reading some stuff about you. I was like, okay, I was like, I do remember him talking about. You were just so nonchalant on Facebook talking about it, but I looked at your LinkedIn. I was like, oh no, you came back teaching stuff in the States and doing some tutoring here and there, but being just essentially, we know you're Trinidadian, but just coming back to the States now and being a black man and then having this well of experience with Spanish, how was your worldview now, or what did you deal with now coming back? Was it almost like stereotypical? It's like people who you can tell who was talking trash and who wasn't. And is it almost safe to say
Yes.
that a lot of people really weren't talking trash? They're just talking about their own personal life. Okay,
Totally.
because I be trying to tell my wife, I'm like, man, yo,
Totally.
they ain't talking
See,
about you. They cool.
I've seen people get offended. It'd be like somebody's having a conversation like, yeah, so the shoes were green. And it'd be like, what are you like y'all talking about me, you know. And then sometimes they get it right. I
Yeah.
think it's about meeting people, you know. Like
Mm.
some people are just good at, like, no matter what you say, like I know you said something about me, and they'll be
Yeah.
correct about it.
Yeah.
But yo, it changed my life, man. I tell
Mm.
you the truth. Yeah, I try to shrink the story down, but I mean, being down there, I learned my Spanish. I started
Mm.
learning French. No, I mean French Creole, I should say,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
which started my love of wanting to actually learn French. You know, I knew an Austrian girl that I worked at her shop for, like, let's say 6 months or more, and I started speaking German. You know,
What?
so when I
So
came back,
you're
I had,
low key a polyglot.
yeah, man,
Like,
ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, aber ich weiß es nicht.
nah, we cool,
I
bro.
just know the English. You know what I'm saying? But like I
Yeah.
said, yo, once you learn that first, second language, you start to realize, oh shit, pardon my French.
Yo.
You
No, no,
start to
you
realize,
good. You
you're like,
good,
yo,
bro.
I keep saying the same thing in every language. Like, it don't even matter what language it is. It's
Yeah.
just like, just give me the word. I don't even care how you say it. Like, I
Just tell
I want
me.
to say, I want to express the feeling of I want a beer. Like, how do I say that? If you
Right.
tell me wig wag wom wom, I'm gonna turn right to the bartender and say wig wag wom wom. I'm not even gonna sweat it
Wow.
no more.
Cause that's my thing. Like for a minute, I was messing with. I still want to like really work on learning Portuguese, but because of my job, I was like in my head, I was like, oh, I want to go to China one day. So I was like, let me pick up, you know what I'm saying, Mandarin. And I was learning a little bit, and then I kind of just gave up. Like my boss was being weird, other people was being weird at my job because I was learning a different language, and I'm black, and I was just like, y'all better get
Interesting.
over it. Bruh. So, you know, I never dealt with none of that stuff because I'm from up north. I'm from Michigan, so it's like the stuff that we hear about when you go to different cities and different states, it's like, yo, some people was just overt, some people was just covert, and I was like, Jesus.
All right.
But I really want to work on grasping Portuguese. That's I don't know why. I just want to, because it seems like that's the segue for me. Like for you, it's French. For me, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to learn Portuguese because it's like, it kind of sounds similar. And like, the thing that throws me off, like
Fala.
some of the words that they
Fala.
speak, it sounds like
Yeah.
it sounds English. Like I'm like, why do you talk like that? It's like, but I want to figure it out and I want to learn it, man. So
No, you know what? I don't know the 100% answer, but I could tell you that I noticed that myself. And there's a program that your listeners, your viewers could find um, online. It's called From Spanish to Portuguese.
ooh, ooh,
You know, this is more so for your
ooh.
viewer who already has a basic understanding of Spanish,
Oh,
right?
I'm about to check
Because
that out.
what
Yeah.
right, it was made by the FSI, the Foreign Service Institute. It's
Really?
old, but it's classic. You know what I mean? There's some things that you can't kill. It's, you
I'm
know,
pulling it up right now.
and so there's several sites that host it. You know, I got mine that I use. I printed it off and put it in a book. What it does is they realize if you had already learned Spanish,
Hmm.
that your approach to Portuguese will always be through this lens.
Got it.
So they make a program that only focuses on the differences because they know that you're going to know the similarities. They know that you're going to know that pra is para. They know that
Wait,
you're going to
is this
realize
from?
that,
Is this free?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
because
cause I
it's
think
made,
You said FSI, right?
yeah, it's made off our tax dollars. So anytime it got like 30 years old, it becomes free. So I use all that
What?
stuff. I teach my new
Oh,
students using Head Start to Puerto Rico, Head Start to Latin America, which is pretty much the same program, but one is based in Puerto Rican, one is based in Panamanian sort of dialect.
yo.
I
Okay,
use
yeah.
FSI programmatic, you know, and like it depends on the person. Some people don't like to look at these old PDFs or to listen to these old audio clips they got. But
Nah, you can go to sleep listening to it.
I always found that the classic stuff worked better than, like, you know, Duolingo or whatever. You know, I got folks,
Mm-hmm.
not to Duolingo.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
it's a great program to learn how to read and write, but I just have never met a person yet that was fluent off of it. And, you know, maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't have anything for you because I didn't know about Duolingo
You
until like a
know,
couple of years ago. Like my
right,
homeboy, like boss, he uses it because that's his only, far as I know, that's like his main tool. And then he'll like
right.
hit me up and he'll ask me questions, and I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, why am I saying this like this? Why can't I say it like that? Blah blah blah. And I explain it to him, and
Same
he's like,
questions
oh,
I had.
okay, yeah, yeah.
You got to do like my nephew and just say it. Just say, learn how to say it and learn when to say it. Don't ask
Yeah,
why.
but and you know,
Ask
but
why.
it's funny because I dealt with the why too. So when I actually okay, funny story. We're gonna end it, man, because it's about to be almost 2 hours. It's an hour and 34 minutes. So funny story. The church I used to go to, there's this Dominican chick, older lady. I thought she was a black woman. I didn't know. I thought she was like African American. I didn't know till she started talking to me. So she's talking to me, and I'm like, I thought I knew what she was saying at that point, but I didn't know Spanish enough to know. So my godmother
Mhm.
translated for me, and so the sister said in English, she said, "You need to go to school." Yes, ma'am. So I took some college courses, and so I go look. I listened to her. I was like, "Yes, ma'am," and you know what I'm saying. And I left, and she beautiful lady, beautiful soul, man. And so I wonder how she's doing. I don't know. She's older, so I'm pretty sure she ain't got Facebook or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I go to this community college in Kentucky. Mind you, all this transpired in Kentucky. That's where I learned Spanish at. I met Puerto Ricans in Kentucky, joined this church, met you know what I'm saying in Kentucky, which is hilarious because it was depressing
That's
there.
that shows that folks go everywhere. You
Look, they everywhere. So I go to this
Kentucky.
school and I take up this class. And now mind you, I'm passing the class. I just want to throw that out there. I took a couple classes there and I passed it.
Nice.
So get A. So I'm like, oh, I'm super good. So
Good,
right,
good.
because I took it serious. So but when the teacher first she comes in, right? Or when she first came in, I look at her, Sean, I look at her, and in my head, I'm thinking, what is this white lady finna tell me? I got hot, instantly got hot. And I think you already know where I'm about to go with this. So I'm quiet, right? And so she's like, "Hello, students. My name is Mrs. Jernigan, and I'm Puerto Rican." And I was like, "Nigga, no way." But I had to keep, but I was quiet. But I was judging her in my heart, and I got upset because I'm thinking, mind you, I'm still learning about what people look like. So I'm thinking most people are gonna look like J Lo and Mark Anthony. You know what I'm saying? Or they're
Right,
gonna have this
right.
European
You
time,
met, you met your
like
first white Puerto Rican.
exactly. So you know what's
They
funny
out there.
when, but what was funny is that my godmother's husband, I looked at him. I was like, he don't look like a white dude. He looked like Bobby Valentine, the singer.
Okay.
Like or
I know.
maybe because the white dude, he almost looked albino with the blonde hair and everything. That dude, is that him
Okay.
or is it? So him, he looks like him. Like far as like his phenotype, far as like hair color and stuff like that. So I see my godmother's husband, and I'm looking at his facial features. I was like, he look like a white dude, but he don't look like a white dude. Why does he? This is in my head. I'm like, why does he look like that? Yeah, and this before I even heard him speak Spanish yet, because she's like, "This is my
Right.
husband," and then he
There's
started
something in
talking,
the features.
yo, and I looked and I was like, "Oh, okay, this makes sense now." But when I seen my teacher, she really looked like she was from like Spain or something like that. So I was just like, what is this white lady finna teach me? And she's like, "Yeah, I'm Puerto Rican." And she's like, "My mom's from Puerto Rico." Her mom's like a straight white lady, a old white lady. I was like, what? In my head, I was thinking to myself, what is going on? This is not what I was being shown on TV. It was already messed up with my godmother that doesn't look like she's black or isn't black at all, telling me black people look like me. That messed my head up. So now you telling me
Right.
that there's white people that I was like, so then I came to this epiphany that I was like, oh, it's just like living here in the States.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. But we're being told that these people always look like XYZ. And I was
Yep.
like, what is going? And then as I started delving in deeper, like, oh no, we deal with the same stuff that you deal with. They just don't show it on TV. And it's like, you
Right.
deal with it? What is going on? So yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. This we gonna chop up. I don't want to keep you, man, because this we can keep going. We can keep going, but I don't want to keep you, brother.
It's all
This
good,
was
man. Any last questions from anybody out
let
there?
me see. Let me see, boss. I'm gonna end up editing the podcast, but boss, you're the main one watching, brother. You got anything for Sean? You got any questions you want to ask him, man? Let's see if he has anything, because there might be like a slight delay. So, but I think he might be good. Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna all this little dialogue right here where I'm talking right now. I'm gonna
Definitely.
edit that on the podcast, but people see it live here, so it is what it
All
is. I
right,
don't
my
think.
brother.
Yeah.
Yo, listen, it was wonderful building, man.
Yes,
I
sir.
see what you're doing with your brand
Oh,
here, and
he
I'm
just
very
needs your
proud.
info. So I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him. You can find him on Facebook, man. His name is What is actually Shaun C. Skeete.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Shaun C. Skeete.
yeah.
You know, you can find me on Instagram at I Speak Mucho,
Wait, am I
and
following you on IG?
I'm not sure.
Nope, I'm
I
about to
have I
follow you
have one
now.
that I tell you the truth, I have one that I just kind of opened up for the. I haven't really built it out yet, but I'll give the information.
Okay,
Just by the time you drop this, I think I should have some stuff on there.
okay.
But it's
Nope, I'm not following
Trini.
you. Following you now.
Okay,
Okay.
they can find me at Trini Mini Cano.
Oh, you're
Trini Mini
funny. You're 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 funny.
that's
You
that's been
said
my little
Trini Mini.
mix
Oh,
up for a
okay.
while
I
now.
missed the letter. Mini
Let me
Cano.
just make sure for you.
Okay, you
But yeah,
good,
so
bro.
Trinidadian and
Okay.
exactly how you think it is Trini.
Mm-hmm. All right, you don't have a picture on there yet, right?
No, like I said, it's early because as February comes in,
Does it look
like I
like
speak
this?
mucho.
I don't know if you can see
Yeah,
it. That's it right there? Like you just
no,
made
you got
it? Am I missing
yeah.
something?
Because as February comes in, I wanted to move what I do on I Speak Mucho because I have a lot of my writings on there too. I just want to separate those worlds more.
Ah,
So
okay.
I have a page. I have a page for my writing, for my poetry coming. It's at
Okay.
6 Word Sundays, and I have a
Mm-hmm.
page for my Spanish, Trini Dominicano.
Bet, bet, bet. Now, are you still doing tutoring? Because you also do a blog, bro. I actually like really looked you up because I was like, who is
Yo,
Shaun?
you found you
So I was
found
looking up
you,
stuff. You did blogs. You was doing a lot of stuff. I'm like, bro, no, you're pretty much like this hidden gem within our group that we didn't
I
realize was
appreciate you,
there.
man.
So, man, I'm
I
for real.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Thank you, my
yeah,
brother. Yeah, I love putting pen to paper, and I just love word. I think that's
right,
the main connection from the whole interview that we did today. Like this whole thing,
yeah,
the words, man, they drive everything.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I hope to see some of these people. But to answer your question, I do. I still tutor. I
Okay,
definitely
okay.
do. If you know anybody who needs to reach out,
It'll
they
be
can
him.
also,
I'll direct them to you.
yeah, they can email me as well.
Okay.
I speak mucho at Gmail. So,
Okay. Got it.
uh,
All right. So, hey guys, thank you for checking out the podcast. That's supposed to be different podcast. This is your man Gerard Kenneth. And this was episode 51. Yo hablo español también, featuring Shaun Skeete. Shaun, thank you again so much, brother. This was fun. I'm sorry to take up your time, but it was like talking to like a big brother. That's how I looked at it. So I'm like, yo, this is cool. And I really hope that people really grasp what you were what you were sharing, the information, how they can contact you, all that good stuff. Because you're this hidden gem, and it's like don't sleep on this brother, man. He's
I
dope. He's dope.
appreciate you, man. Yo, I mean, for my learners, gracias por invitarme. Gracias por invitarme al show. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
Well,
oh, and
yeah.
I'm serious about that song. I really want you to get on that song. I already sent you the tracks and everything. So I sent you
Oh,
the
yeah, please.
session and all that good stuff. So just I think you
Yeah, man.
gotta check your email or something like that. I'm not sure. Bro, you just went silent. You went silent again. Hey, hey, just stay online with me real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and end this show, but just stay online with me real quick. But yeah, guys, thank you again for checking out the podcast. It's supposed to be different podcasts. Thank you so much for watching. Those who are going to be listening later on, thank you so much. I will honestly say that aside from the last episode, this is going to be one of my favorite episodes of this particular year. And I love it, man. I would love to have Shaun on here again. So we're going to be talking some more. And we might, who knows, we might have a episode where we get to teach. I don't know. It's just a thought. I'm just throwing it out there. Where we're actually going over things and he's teaching it. And you know what I'm saying? We're just going over basic things to help different people. And then it'll lead to, you know what I'm saying, maybe you linking up with him and getting tutored by him. So we'll get that together. All right. So, but thanks again, guys. Peace and God bless. And deuce.